Here's a question no self-publisher wants to think about. What happens to your Amazon KDP account and any future royalties that you generate after you die? I'd never even thought about this question until a student brought it up in one of our Q&A calls, but the reality is that if you don't have a plan in place, your loved ones might never see a penny from any of the royalties that your book might generate after you're gone. Now in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what happens to your KDP account after you pass away, plus the steps you should take right now to protect your books and make sure that their royalties actually reach your family members after you're gone. And make sure you watch the whole video, because at the end, I'm going to cover what happens if your account is registered under an LLC or a corporation instead of your personal name. I'm Rachel Harrison's son, and I help people turn simple book ideas into passive income. Okay, so let's get the disclaimers out of the way right at the beginning here. I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Laws vary from state to state and country to country. This really is general information, and I really encourage you to follow up with an attorney with any outstanding questions that you have. Also, I'm only going to be talking about KDP, not any other self-publishing platform here. All right, let's get to it. What happens to your KDP account when you die? Now, as far as I can see, the KDP terms of service don't specifically mention what happens to an author's account after they die. But an important point to start off with here is that if and when you pass away, your account doesn't just automatically transfer to someone else, like your heir. It's going to be up to your executor or your heir to contact KDP, if and when that happens, to let them know that you've passed on. If no one lets KDP know, they're just going to continue to pay royalties to the bank account that you have on file until something changes. So that could be, your bank account being closed, the tax info is flagged, account activity is required, so maybe you need an address verification, or there's a tax form, or there's a W-8, W-9 renewal, or something like that. If any of those things happen, your account could be frozen, future royalties could be withheld, or the account could be closed. So again, Amazon needs to be informed by someone that you have passed on. Now, your first instinct here might be to just leave your KDP login credentials to your executor or heir. But very important distinction here, it's not your account that you're going to be leaving to your heir. It's your intellectual property, the books inside the account that you're leaving to your heir. So therefore, it's not a matter of your heir logging into your account and updating it with their own tax and banking info. Instead, your heir would need to transfer your books into their new or existing account. So to do that, your heir or your executor should either contact KDP through their own new or existing KDP account, or I did find Amazon's bereavement support email address, which I've linked to below and I hope you don't have to use. One note here is that this is for Amazon accounts, not KDP accounts specifically, but I'm sure they could point you in the right direction. But in either instance, your heir or your executor would need to inform Amazon of these things. They need to let them know that you've passed on. They would need to provide a copy of the death certificate. They would need to provide official documentation showing that they're the executor or heir or legal representative of your estate, their official government ID, the login details of your account, a list of all of the books, their titles, pen names, ISBNs, basically just as much information as they can possibly provide. And then your heir would need to let them know that they would like KDP to transfer all of your books from your account over to their account so that they can continue to sell them and receive any future royalties generated. Your heir should also probably mention any Author Central account that you have under your name as well, and just ask, how to proceed with that. Now, at the end of this process, your books would be transferred over to your heir's new or existing account, where they could then continue to sell your books, and they would receive any future royalties earned into their own bank account. Now, hopefully you have got many years left, and this isn't something you're going to have to worry about anytime soon, but there are some steps that you should take right now in order to protect your account and any future royalties that are going to be generated after you're gone. But before that, if you're finding this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate that, and it'll just help get this video out to even more people that might find it useful as well. So step number one is to document all of your digital assets. You want to keep a secure record of your KDP login information, so associated email, password, the bank account you're using for payouts, your tax ID number on file, and then a list of all of your books. So titles, pen names, files, ISBNs, all of that stuff, and you want to store it somewhere safe. So this could be an encrypted password manager, a safety deposit box, a physical safe that you have in your house, just somewhere safe. Step number 2 is that if you don't have a will, create one. Now, lots of us, we don't want to think about this for good reason, but if you don't have a will, it really does create a nightmare for your loved ones after you're gone. They're not going to have access to anything. They don't know who gets what, how you want them to proceed with certain situations. So you really do need a will. And it needs to be a legal will, so not something that you just, draw up on a sheet of paper and sign. You want to draw one up with an actual estate planning attorney. You're going to name your executor and your heir. So your executor, the person you appoint to carry out what you've outlined in your will, and your heir, of course, is the person who you leave all of your assets to. And of course, you can have multiple heirs. And you want to include your books in your will. So you want to clearly outline who inherits your intellectual property, your books, and who those rights are transferred to when you die. Now, your attorney is going to help you draw up the legal language around this, but you're going to want to include the titles, the pen names, ISBNs, all of that information. Next step is you want to clearly communicate with your executor and your heirs. Make sure your intended executor and heir or heirs know about your KDP account and understands the transfer process that we just outlined. Tell your executor about the existence of your books and your account, title, ISBN, all that stuff. Give them access to your digital records document. The point is, you want them to know what you've outlined in your will, how to access your account, and what that whole process is going to look like. And you want to make sure that they know where that process is. At my house, we've got a folder, and my executor knows where to find that folder. And they know that all the instructions for everything that I want carried out after I'm gone are in that one spot. Now, what if you publish other people's books under your account, or maybe you have a book that has been published under someone else's account? Do not do this without getting legal advice from an attorney. Any partnership that you enter into, you want to do that with a legal contract written out with the help of an attorney. I've seen some very unfortunate situations where someone has had their book published under someone else's account, and then that person loses the login details, or there's a falling out, and now, person A can't get their book back from person B, and it's a whole nightmare. So don't enter into any partnership like that unless you have a contract drawn up that clearly outlines what to do in every situation under the sun, including if one of you passes away. And then finally, what do you do if your KDP account is registered to a corporation or an LLC? This is different. When you publish through a corporation or an LLC, the KDP account belongs to the business entity, not to you personally. That means that the corporation or the LLC is going to continue to exist after your death. So the KDP account actually remains active in this instance under the business entity. Amazon doesn't need to transfer the account because it remains under that same business entity. So instead, the continued operation of the account is going to depend on the corporate succession plan which you have set up. So this would include who inherits your company's shares and financial rights, but also who would acquire the managerial rights of the company. This might not be the same person. So if you do publish under a corporation or an LLC, here's what to do. Make sure you have a proper business setup. Make sure your LLC or your corporation is set up correctly with proper tax ID, proper business banking account information. Number 2 is make sure you have a succession plan in place. This includes who inherits ownership interests when you die and what the management authority is for heirs. Also, what is your intended continuation of business operations? Now again, always best to do this with an attorney present. And I have to admit, I have not done this for myself because, as I said, I'd never even thought about this until one of my students brought it up. But this is now on my to-do list, and I hope it's on yours as well. Now, if you are selling books on KDP, you know that the best way to get more sales is by getting reviews. So watch this video next, if you'd find a way to get legitimate reviews super fast on Amazon KDP. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you found this useful, consider subscribing, hit the like button, and I will see you next week.